Welcome. I am Father Soney Sebastian, a Divine Word missionary priest. Nice to share this reflection with you. For the second time, Jesus warns his disciples about what is to come, his suffering, death, and resurrection. We are told that the disciples are overwhelmed with grief over what Jesus says. Whether that is purely out of sorrow for Jesus or whether it represents their disillusionment, it's hard to say. This was not the kind of end they were expecting to the coming of the Messiah. The second part of today's reading is a peculiar scene, only to be found in the Gospel of Matthew. The tax collectors of the temple tax want to know whether Jesus pays it or not. Peter assures them that he does. But on entering the house, Jesus asks Peter, "Do kings collect tax from their sons, that is, their subjects, or from foreigners?" "From others," replies Peter. And in fact, the Romans did collect tax from their colonized peoples and not from their own citizens. In that case, Jesus says, the sons, that is, he and his disciples, should be exempt from paying the temple tax. After all, the temple is God's house, and Jesus is his son, and his disciples are his brothers, sons of the same Father. They should therefore be exempt. But to avoid giving scandal and misunderstanding, Peter is told to catch a fish in whose mouth he will find a shekel, enough to pay for both of them. A half shekel was levied each year on all Jewish males of 20 years or older. It was for the upkeep of the temple. A half shekel at this time was roughly equivalent to 2 days' wages. So this passage seems to reflect a dilemma of the early church. Should Christians who are Jews continue to pay the temple tax? Should Christians in general have to pay tax to a pagan government, especially one whose emperor claims to be a deity? These dilemmas were solved in time, in history, when the temple was destroyed and when the Roman Empire crumbled. We too have to discern what is legitimately required of us by our governments and make our contribution to the needs of our society, while at the same time not compromising on issues where universal principles of truth and justice are at stake. Civil disobedience is sometimes not only a right, but also a responsibility. Let us make sure that we pay attention to our civic responsibilities as well as our religious duties of giving a portion of what we have, what God has given us, we share with others and the church. May our generosity be blessed abundantly.